let's talk about Dustborn, man. So Red Thread Games put out this post, and I know all of you guys saw it, obviously. And honestly, this this post is just, what's the word I'm looking for, man? Like, you can see the strategy, the playbook from a mile away. Like, if Red Thread Games was a football team, not to use a sports analogy for Gooch and Atreus, but if they were a football team, they would be fucking thrashed by anybody that can literally see their play from a mile away. This here is what they do. It's what they all do, right? And it made me think about, why was a game like Dustborn made? Now, to be very clear, I've always said, if it's a new IP, you can make it as woke as you fucking want. I don't care, right? You are allowed to make your own games. Sure. You're allowed to make your own stories, and if you want to pander to the modern audience, then you are allowed to reap whatever benefits or issues come with doing that. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Doesn't mean I can't roast you, though. To keep that in mind, and that's the confusion that these people have, because they're like, well, you guys always say we can make our own games, and then when we make our own games, you make fun of them. Like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, we never said we wouldn't make fun of you, but we just said you can make your own games. It's fine. Anyway, so I feel like I was thinking about this, and the government funding and all that stuff, and that came to light thanks to multiple people, including Smash. And I start to realize that this is why these games are made, right? These games are made because not only are they funded by your taxpayer dollar, right? So they kind of it's just more money wasted, like always. But it's also utilized as a tool to push a narrative at certain points in time. This game, Dustborn, is being used as that stepping stone. They're trying to utilize the game to push the narrative about victimhood in the gaming industry surrounding Gamergate 2.0. They know they're losing bad. I mean, the amount of L's that they have taken during this particular Gamergate far surpasses the initial one by a long shot. It's so bad now that they try to use Dustborn to try to make it seem like, oh, it's the same narrative. Oh, it's hate. It's this. It's bigotry. It's vitriol. Vitriol is a new word, by the way. They love saying vitriol now. I don't know if they just figured out that word exists, but they're throwing that out like crazy now.
Hypno, real quick. You know what this is? This is someone who starts a YouTube channel and then goes on Twitter and bitches that no one's watching their video. That's what this is.
Yeah. This is the YouTube creator that thinks they put out the best videos in the world.
Yes.
And they don't understand why they get such little views, but then they'll go online and hate on the YouTuber that actually gets views.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and they'll try to pretend like they're not envious.
It's that, but it's also what Hypno was saying, is that these are more meant. This type of media is meant more as propaganda pieces rather than any type of like actual.
I don't know if the developers even know that though. Like, I don't think they could. See themselves.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
One thing we need to understand is, you gotta understand, like, this kind of ideology that just spread around like a poison, a festering wound, literally was promoting, was highlighting, or I guess exalting would be a better word, mediocrity on top of spreading the message, because they could easily give money to mediocre studios. They just said, yeah, just follow. Just, do your game, but maybe add a few things here and there. Do this, do that. And what did they do? They did. And then at a certain point, those same studios had people that thought this ideology that just infiltrated the studios and then started and acquired positions of power within those studios. They started pushing this thing out of their own volition. And here's one thing we got to understand. You can put let's say this developer made a different game and it had no woke elements in it, but it was equally as bad in gameplay as Dustborn. I would still say this thing: just because your game is not quote unquote woke, as people like to say, does not mean people are gonna play it and love it immediately. It has to be good.
A shit game is a shit game.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think
Can I follow up on Slayer really quick, just while it's in my mind before I forget? I truthfully believe that these studios, or I should say studios like this, they make games like this. I think they realize that they can weaponize their own failure, right? So they know that they're, from a financial standpoint, they're not ever going to make it to the point where they're going to get, their money back. They're anybody who invests in games like Dustborn, they don't invest in these games to get rich. I don't think they invest in these games to even make a profit. I think they invest in these games knowing that they can weaponize the failure that the game is eventually going to experience once it actually releases and turn it into something that it can utilize to push whatever narrative that may be, which usually
like a false flag.
seems just around. Yeah, kind of like a false flag in a way.
In socialism, we are all bureaucrats. You have to understand this point. There is no wealth accumulation in the individual sense like we are practicing still, hopefully for the next, 150 years. And in socialism, you are just a function. You are a gear and a bigger bureaucratic apparatus. The government, what is inflation? When the government spends too much. What are we seeing? We are creating agencies. We are creating all sorts of new bureaucratic, branches to the government. And this is this is the result of that. So the problem is that these companies, in a sense, don't need to obey the capitalistic machine anymore because they get funded by us, by the government, because they are technocrats. They are just an institutional gear. They don't have any individual entrepreneurial spirit. They don't have a career vision. Their vision is to stay in the machine, to stay in the function of bureaucracy. And so that's why they're dangerous, because not only are they bound by an agenda, they're protected by not competing against each other.
Let me ask
really quick, this comment.
Okay.
This comment. So we weren't saying they were the same in that aspect. We were saying they're the same from the ideology mindset of, well, I worked hard on it, thus it should be accepted, kind of a thing, right? So these developers and a lot of people around them too, because if you notice the narrative around this game is that, oh, you guys got to support these developers because they worked 8 long years on this game and they deserve the support. You should check it out, whatever.
Oh,
just because you work hard on something or work hard, that doesn't mean that it automatically should be supported.
I know a lot of actors that work hard and it still suck. That's why
it's really hard with doing it wrong.
And it's the same thing with YouTubers, right? You have YouTubers that feel like, especially people. I see this more with people who do singular videos, highly edited style, where they put a lot of effort, a lot of work into. Wyatt probably knows the feeling. A lot of effort, a lot of work into one particular video, and if the video bombs, it is extremely fucking demoralizing. Oh my God, and unfortunately, a lot of people that make content like that, they're not as strong-willed as Wyatt. They'll go out there and they'll say, "Well, this is bullshit. Why is nobody?" This video is amazing, but you'll have a self-confidence issue
and everything.
And I'll be honest, speaking from personal experience, when I first started YouTube, that's what I wanted my channel to be. And I got a lot of that internal frustration of like, why aren't people caring about me?
It takes so long.
It does.
I did the exact same thing. You know what I did? I just grifted. You know what I'm saying? The grift.
Motherfucker.
No more editing. All grifting.
You just hit on something really big right there, though.
Embrace the grift.
That's why they have so much jealousy, hatred, anger, frustration, because they feel like you are taking the eyeballs away from their hard work. Because if you just go to the lowest common denominator, that's like, oh, you're actually the bad guy now because you're taking the eyeballs away from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And real quick, while I have the talking stick, the Red Thread Games is located in Norway. And they made a game about the divided states of America. Imagine if, say, we made a game about the divided country or province or whatever the hell Norway is of Norway, and we tried to implement propaganda on them. How they would feel about that? Like, it's like that whole thing is just like so. It would be different if they were in America. It would be funny. We'd be clouded on them like, oh, look at these.
We've gotten accused of that though, Smash JT, many times in history. Especially in games like Call of Duty, where you have certain countries not liking the way we depict them. Russia, I believe, was one of them, complaining, especially majorly during Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I think it was 2.
The airport.
Yeah, the airport scene.
Oh,
It was a big, like, international fucking controversy. They were like, how dare you represent us? We would never, you know what I mean? So it's not something that, we're necessarily strangers to, but yeah. ABF, what do you think about this, man?
I feel like Russia would be worse than that.
I think that Dustborn was conceived from some sort of social change think tank. And there were a bunch of like people with suits in the background that were like, hey, I can get us a grant from the European Union And then they had another guy who was like, you know what, I can do the same, but from the U.S.
This
embassy.
is how they make money.
Yeah.
Can I piggyback off that real quick? I know I'm talking a lot. Sorry, but I
Yes, man. Come on.
Fucking white
I'm
privilege.
sorry. But do you think like when Shit Spout got hired, or that she knew that she was a cog in the machine? They're like, oh, that color hair, a fucking apple tattoo under her eye. Yeah, she's gonna fit perfectly with the agenda we want to push, and she has no idea that she's being used for it. That's the best part.